The base is dropped on a rather chilly Monday morning for April 15th here in the metro Atlanta area. Soccer Down here live for an overreaction Monday after Atlanta United wins 2-0 on the road against the New England Revolution. We'll get into that. We'll get into USL Championship play as well. Atlanta United 2 picked up another win, back-to-back wins, big 6-point week for the Twos. We'll get into head injuries because there were multiple occasions of that happening around MLS and USL League One. We'll get into all that as well as all of your reactions over, under, on par to any and all of it from a really busy weekend. Jason Longshore, John Nelson with you this morning. And, John, where do you want to start about Atlanta and New England?
Wow. Why don't we just go ahead and start with the Golasso and work our way backwards?
Yeah, I mean, Ezequiel Barco, look, I was surprised when he wasn't in the starting lineup. I get it. I understand the tactics of it because you're playing against a team that is long ball dominant. They want to get vertical. They don't want to possess the ball. That might have been Brad Friedel giving you a call to talk about that, John.
It was.
Yeah, you got to watch out for that. He gets a little fiery. It's a game where, I mean, let's flash back to 2017 World Cup qualifying. United States going to Trinidad and Tobago. Same type of opponent in one that doesn't want the ball, is going to play direct at every opportunity. And we said, look, you need two central midfielders here. You need two to sit because you have to win the second ball. You can't play Michael Bradley by himself in that match. You couldn't play Eric Remedi by himself in this match or Jeff Larinowitz by himself in this match because of the way it was going to play out. So when you make that decision and you start working from, okay, things I have to do in this match when you're creating your tactical plan, I have to play two holding midfielders. I have to sit deeper because of that. All right, that means you're going to have to sacrifice somebody. In this one, it was Ezequiel Barco, who starts on the bench. It was Tito Villalba and Julian Gressel who got the starts up top with Joseph Martinez, and Darlington Nagbe was in that 10 role, also a player who's comfortable dropping back. So you've got lots of cover for whatever New England's going to throw at you. Makes sense. Well, all that's thrown out the door when Juan Fernando Caicedo crashes into the back of Eric Remedi's head 15 seconds into the match. Shocked that there's no yellow card there. Yeah, it's 15 seconds in, but come on. That was ridiculous. And Remedi, look, we had a great angle from where we were. I think the TV replays didn't go super deep into it. I was watching Remedi's reaction, and he wasn't, I don't think he was knocked out. And look, I don't know, I wasn't there. Looked like there was movement, but looked like there was a lot of pain. Then he did get up to his feet. He jogged on the sideline. They checked him out. He came back into the match, and maybe 10 minutes later, plays moved over to the left side, and he sat down and couldn't continue. I don't know, and we'll never know this stuff, what the conversations were. Remedi said afterwards that he didn't remember parts of the match, and he only played about 10 minutes. So that's enough to tell you that there's a head injury. You're never going to know, and this is where you have to be careful with terminology. You can have head injuries and you can not have concussions. You can have concussions and not have head injuries, actually. You can get that from a whiplash type of situation. So, and concussion symptoms don't always show immediately or that night or the next day or 2 days later. It's a process, and Eric Remedi will be going through that process right now. But that injury and that substitution opened the door for Ezequiel Barco. Now, it worked out in his case that it was early, so you warm up before the match. The substitutes warm up, although they're not preparing to come straight in. They are at least a little loose. He was able to get loose pretty quick and comes into the match. immediately had an impact. And it's easy to talk about Barco's impact here, but you have to give Darlington Nagbe a ton of credit as well, because his role changed in a big way from being the 10 in front of two holding guys to being one of the holding players, but still getting forward when possible. That's a big mental adjustment in that match, inside that match, that Darlington Nagbe had to do. Did it excellently. And Barco came in and gave you everything that you needed, especially the performance going forward. Now, let's get into the Colonel's comment right here, because he's talking about the concussion situation as well. Inaction of Atlanta United, especially the medical staff at Eric Remedi injury, are disturbing. Injured at 10 seconds, over 2 minutes of treatment, over 7 more playing and more treatment. Finally taken off in 15. Atlanta concussion protocol entirely too casual. There's a league concussion protocol that I don't know honestly what it is. Soccer concussion protocol is entirely too casual. This is not an Atlanta United issue where everybody else is getting it right. This is a very complicated situation that no two head injuries are the same, period. He could honestly have not been showing concussion symptoms until 10 minutes later. He could have went on to play 90 minutes and had concussion symptoms after the match. He could have played 90 minutes and had concussion symptoms today. It's not easy. So I'm really, as somebody who has went through a concussion and not in a situation like this one, not in a situation where, I was run into from the back of my head, didn't happen in a game, didn't take an elbow, didn't take a headbutt. I was hit in the back of the head with a ball coaching about 7 years ago. And I didn't have concussion symptoms immediately. And it's not because of the difference in, trust me, the concussion, I would have rather not had it. It's not the severity of a concussion. It was the fact that I had a headache. That was it. I drove home. I was fine to drive. And I woke up the next day, felt okay, felt a little off, felt a little groggy. And, no big deal. Didn't sleep great, no big deal. Wake up and sit at my computer working from home a little bit and thought I thought my head was going to cave in and thought the room was going to collapse on top of me. So there's no way to easily handle this. That's why, Colonel, and I get what you're saying. I understand it, but this is not an easy thing to deal with, and the league rules, the just FIFA rules, all of it, there are many clubs that struggle with this because it's hard. I'm very, very I get it. But after this injury, after the Castellanos and Opara collision in Minnesota, that it looked like, in that case, Castellanos was knocked out. Now, he was substituted. It was, again, 82nd minute, not the first minute of the match, which I hate to tell you that plays into it. It 100% plays into it. 100%. So you had both of those, and if you haven't seen it, you had a really bad head injury in the Orlando City B South Georgia Tormenta match at the very end in stoppage time. It's the worst one I've seen on the field. It was that horrendous. And it was the goalkeeper colliding with one of his own players, knee to the head. Will Bagaru from Orlando City B had to be stretchered off. All very differing severities of head injury, and the concussion symptoms that could result from all three are very different. Eric Remedi could have the worst concussion symptoms of the three. That's the thing about this. You never know. That's why it's so hard to deal with. But I've seen tweets about it, and I did not hear Taylor Twellman's comments during the Castellanos Opara collision on ESPN. Twellman was on the call. We know Taylor Twellman's career ended early due to head injuries and concussions. He has really led the conversation about this. It has to be handled differently. You have to create a For me, the way I do it, and this is just my thoughts, I have not put in the study that Twellman has put into this. I've not put in the study that former WWE wrestler and former Harvard, I believe, football player Chris Nowinski has put into this with his institute. There has to be independent medical, what if it's doctors, if it's observers, whatever. They have to be there at each match in Major League Soccer and at each match in a World Cup, in a World Cup qualifying situation. When there is a head injury, they take over. And when they take over, teams are allowed to substitute a player on temporarily. Period. That's what has to happen here. And then at the independent medical folks, they can say that player has to come off. They can say that player can come back in. That's how it has to go. And there has to be a temporary substitution to allow it. I believe, John, and correct me if I'm wrong, rugby has a temporary substitution situation. I don't think it
sounds correct, yeah.
I don't think it's just a head injury situation. I do think blood might factor into that as well.
It's I think part of it, and I think concussion. I think you're both right. Yes.
Yeah, I think it covers both. But this is something that, look, 3 incidents this weekend in the United States. We've seen it happen in World Cup finals now. We've seen it happen in every league in the world. It has to be taken out of the direction of the team staff, because the team staff is going to want to do what's best for the team. The player wants to do what's best for the team. I mean, do you think Eric Remedi was asking to come out? No. Do you think if he didn't know what was going on at that stage, he would be put back in? No. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have an injury, and that doesn't mean that he can't continue. That's why this is so complicated. That's why, Colonel, it's just, I totally get what you're saying. I just think it's so much more complicated than that. It's so much more difficult than that because we don't know the full circumstances. Nobody does. The player who is involved in it doesn't. That's what's so hard about this, and that's why you do need independent examiners there to take over in these situations. And that's why you also need the ability to substitute someone on temporarily to cover for it so it doesn't become an issue. These things all factor into it. It's not a knee-jerk type of reaction. And after what I've seen this weekend, and yeah, this is the first weekend in a while I can remember something like this in, 3 different matches in the United States. But, John, you saw the Bagru injury in Orlando City.
That was bad.
Their Bs. You've seen the clip of Remedi. You've probably seen the clip of Castellanos and Opara. Like, it doesn't usually happen that way, but this should be a wake-up call.
You would hope. And until I see it, as once again, the patent pessimist on the show, I just, you want to see something like this happen. The Bagru injury was one of the nastiest ones I've seen. And, I have not seen any update on Will Bagru after what went down yesterday. And I mean, it went from backboard to stretcher to medical personnel and being wheeled off on a gurney.
That went to the ambulance folks taking over. That went way past the team staff very quickly, and it went to the ambulance taking over.
Yeah, that was that. I mean, and this, you're talking about something that was, I want to say, 8 to 10 minutes worth of making sure that everything was fine so he could leave the pitch in the most medically safe way possible. And yeah, I mean, this is one of the biggest weekends of head injuries that I've seen that I can remember. And to your point that you've made on the show consistently, the free substitution while you're analyzing and having it being an independent analysis, not having a team involved, independent analysis on site, sanctioned by the league, and that way it's taken out of the team's hands. Team has no say in it because a player is going to want to continue to play. Doesn't matter if he can remember things or not. And we've seen this in multiple sports where football players, they'll sit there and I got my bell rung. I'm over having bells being rung up and down. This has to be taken care of. It's an issue that, especially with athletes being what they are today, faster, stronger, all of that, you have to have things addressed. I hope it's a wake-up call. I'm not holding my breath on it. But when you see what went down in our universe, knowing these three instances of how different they may be by the time that we're done looking at them, you've got to have something done. And they were all scary in their own ways. And you've got to get this figured out so you can make sure that these athletes are treated as individuals first and not as athletes. And athletes down the line, treat them as people first, make sure that they're all right as an individual, and take everything else out of play.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath on it either, but I'm also not going to shut up about it, and I'm not going to wait.
No, and you should.
No. But I'm not going to wait for people to be able to brush this off. This has to be addressed, and it has to be a wake-up call for everyone concerned. Now, look, they're all in different situations in the match. The Bagaroo one happened in stoppage time. Did they? I think they did use their final substitution on that. I think they had a substitution at that point. But it happened 2 minutes into 5 minutes of stoppage time. The Castellanos one happened in the 82nd minute, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around 80 to 82. And both teams substituted players. Opara was cut and was bleeding from the head, but he was up pretty quickly. Castellanos appeared to be unconscious, but I'm not positive to that. But both were substituted late in the match. The Remedi one, the substitution happened after he tried to continue and he was unable, and it happened in the 11th minute. So the way that teams deal with these shouldn't be different based off where the match is. And this is just something that I think you have to take out of the team's hands. You have to, because then the player, I think, is a little more receptive to whatever treatment is needed or whatever check is needed. I think the teams are far more receptive to it. And if you take it out and it becomes an independent personnel taking care of this, then you take out the possibility of teams abusing it. And I know that people will say that that's the reason you can't do this. Stop. You make it independent, and only that person is able to then say, so if you have an independent person at the Atlanta-New England match, they see the incident, they see the players come off, the team personnel handles it up to that point, both players come to check, they see that, okay, Caicedo is okay, he's going to be able to continue. He goes back in. Remedi, we're not so sure yet. All right, Atlanta, you can bring in someone temporarily while Remedi is being checked. It's approved. They go in. Okay, then you finish the check, however long it takes, and then you do have to make a decision. Now, I've seen people say that you should be allowed to have a fourth substitution or fifth. I mean, there's no limit to head injuries that could happen in a match. That's another step that I'm not so sure you want to take just yet. But in this case, if the independent official says he cannot continue, do you want to make that substitution permanent, or do you want to bring in someone else? Done. Okay, he can continue. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep the player out, make the substitution now, or do you want to bring the starter back in? That's the way I would play it for now. I could definitely be convinced of additional substitutions if approved by independent personnel, but there has to be something. There has to be a discussion had right now about this, because it's not a good situation to put players into. I think we've covered most of this. I'm sure if there's more questions, please throw them at us at Soccer Down here on Twitter. Look, I'm not a doctor. I don't have I don't have the studying into this that Twellman, that Nowinski, that others have. These are my thoughts. These are my opinions. If you disagree, that is completely cool. I would love to continue this discussion because head injuries and concussion issues in soccer are not going to go away. There have been a number of players in Major League Soccer, let alone other leagues, whose careers have ended at young ages due to concussion issues. That doesn't take it. It's not going to go out of the game with the rules for not heading at youth and different things. It's not going to disappear, but it is something that more tools need to be given to be able to handle better, so you're not putting players and teams in risky situations like this one. We haven't heard any updates yet, and we might not hear any updates. So this is something that it's not an ankle injury that you can check out and see, all right, he's 2 days away. All right, he can run today. He can do this. You don't know. And you might not know, and there might be ups and downs in it. Trust me, I can relate to that. It's not an easy thing. So be patient when it comes to Eric Remedi. He's going to need the time that he needs. The team is going to need the time that they need to evaluate it. You might not get a straight answer any which way because it might go all around the place because that's how concussion symptoms can be. Let's take a break here. We'll get into Barco. We'll get into what Atlanta United did well. We'll also get into the twos a little bit as well because they won. And we'll get into everything else you guys are asking about on an Overreaction Monday. We'll be right back after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Overreaction Monday here on Soccer Down Here. Not February. Geez, I'm out. Maybe I'm concussed today.
Good morning.
15th.
Hello, Monday.
It feels like February. I can tell you that much. I had to break out the February hoodie again because it's cold. It was cold this morning.
Busted out the jacket this morning.
Man. Let's get into the match. Let's get into the way this thing played out. 2-0 for Atlanta. One shot on goal for New England. Ton of chances created from Atlanta, 18 chances created in total. You get 2 goals, probably could have had a couple more. We talked about why Ezequiel Barco entered the match. Let's talk about what he did in the match. Man, the match performance for me. You get the first goal. It's a good late run from him. Second goal is just a classic. It's the one that a lot of people have been asking him to do more of, and I believe, I'll have to go back and double-check the numbers. I think he has more goals in an Atlanta United shirt in far less games than he had at Independiente. That's something to keep in mind here. He's not a natural goal scorer. he's less of a goal scorer than Miguel Almiron was when he got here. And Miguel Almiron was not a natural goal scorer. I remember these same conversations about Miguel Almiron needing to shoot more, needing to score more goals in 2017, to the point that he was one of the league leaders in shots taken in 2018, maybe forcing some. It happens. Barco, I don't think, is going to be that guy. I think he's going to be more of the guy who's creating chances for others. But this opportunity, it's a cross from Tito Villalba that Joseph Martinez makes the hard run. It's a little behind him. He draws all the defenders to him. And Barco gets it in space, makes his decision very quickly, cuts it to the right foot, curls it in. Beautiful, beautiful goal. We had the absolute perfect angle from where we were. It was almost like on a line between Barco and the goal behind him. And I think I immediately kind of got up on my tiptoes when I saw him cut to the right, because I knew where he was going with it. I think we've seen him try one of those before and it didn't come off. And it was just like, oh, I think he's got this one. And, yeah, hits the back of the net, and it's just an unbelievable goal. What do you think, all in all, of Barco's performance?
Well, to answer your question, 38 appearances with Independiente, 5 goals, 31 with Atlanta United, now with 7.
But that's just league play, right?
Yeah, that's okay. Senior good. That is club
that's
appearances.
That's not Copa Sudamericana and
no,
Open Cup and other stuff. Okay.
No, that's 5. That's league appearances and cup appearances. That does not take into account continental appearances. So, I mean, you sit there and you go, that's the one. When you look up the Webster's definition of what folks were anticipating when Ezequiel Barco showed up, that's the picture. You just sit there and you tip your hat and you go, yep. And to your point, when you were breaking down what you were looking at from your position there in Foxborough with Mike, when I work with you, when we do the Atlanta United 2 games, I know when you get up out of your seat, and I know when you're anticipating something, I know that you'll sit there, you'll kind of lean forward a little bit, you'll hop up out of your chair, you'll sit there, you'll kind of jump forward a little bit because you know something's coming. I just had that vision in my head with this second goal. And you have to give Barco a lot of credit. Yes, I know we talked about, warming up and being ready and all that kind of stuff, but being what he was against New England, and honestly, this game could have been 3-4-5, and I think Frank DeBoer said as much after the match with Jillian Sakovits when he was grabbed on the field. But you tip your hat to Barco, you sit there and you go, I'd love to see more of the free run. I'd love to see the artistry at play, and we got to see that glimpse up in Foxborough over the weekend.
You want to hear what Mike Conti thought about the goal?
Yes.
Have you heard this yet?
No, I have not.
You will get a chance to hear it. Mike Conti and his call of Ezequiel Barco's second goal.
Played into the far corner to Parkhurst, who volleys it nicely over to Villalba in the box, dribbles to the end line, cuts it to the spot. Here's Barco running on from long distance to Tramp on the far side. Barco's swinger, goal! Golazo! What a goal by Barco! From just outside the 18, he curls it around Cody Cropper to give Atlanta United a 2-0 lead.
So I should have told Dylan to send me a clip with my part after that, and not because I did anything. I just talked about what the fan in front of us said. So,
what?
This happened last year when we were at Gillette. It's kind of weird where we're at, close to midfield. We're in the Patriots radio booth, so it's a great location. And they have some of the lower level seats tarped off in front of us, but not the row directly below us, not the last row of the 100 level. So people sit in that last row. And last year, we remember some very drunken conversations that people were having from the
colorful
last
language.
Row to the aisle. No, actually, didn't get too colorful. Just drunken. and remembered some of it. And these guys can obviously hear us. Mike and I are a little loud at times. We get into it.
I've heard.
Loud. And so I could hear them a few times, like commenting about stuff we were saying. But that goal from Barco happens, and I could hear the guy below us say, "Well, that's why they paid $14 million for him." So I'm just dying. And then he's, as they're showing replays, he's like, "Wow." So that was all I talked about in my breakdown of it was, this guy's got it right. This is exactly.
Well, but that's the thing. Sometimes that's correct. All you do. That's all you do when you break something down and you just sit there and you go, "Yep." And sometimes it's the guy in front of you who's just had a couple, and he's kind of lathered up pretty well, and sometimes it's the folks that are lathered up that just kind of lay it out for you flat out, and you sit there and you go, "Yep, that's absolutely correct. I can't say it any better."
Yeah, it was highly entertaining. And everybody kind of got quiet after that goal, and there really wasn't much more entertainment after that. People started leaving kind of early. But,
it is an hour drive back to Boston.
Yeah, it can be. It was outside of that, you look defensively, and it's something that I don't think has been talked about a ton in this one. I thought Breck Shea was outstanding. Led the team in recovering possession. Thought he did his job, and it was a different job. He was not being asked to, bombard down the left side and get forward. He was being asked to stay back, defend, win the second ball, be strong in the air when needed, and just defend. And he did. He did a great job of it. Michael Parkhurst playing as a right back in this one. Again, you're playing against a team that is going to play very direct. You'd like to have guys who on your back line who can win the ball, and if they don't win the first one, win the second one. Parkey did the job. He's a great soccer player, period. He's not just a center back. He's a great defensive soccer player. And he's able to slide over to the right side and get the job done. Nagbe was outstanding. I thought Joseph Martinez was outstanding, except for in front of goal, which is where you normally look for him to have his biggest impact. He struggled. He had the one chance that he just mistimed, crossing from the right, and I think he went a little early and got a touch, and the ball just stopped. He didn't put it on goal. Had one that Cody Cropper dealt with pretty well on a through ball. Cropper forced him out wider, and Andrew Farrell cleared it off the line. But Joseph created 4 chances. Not a big part of his game that we normally talk about, and I'm going to make someone sad on Twitter, because they said that I would make them sad if I said this, but I'm going to make them sad. Inigo Montoya, great name, by the way. I'm going to make you sad. Inigo Montoya said on Overreaction Monday, "I would be very sad if you spend a bunch of time talking about Joseph being a, quote, more complete striker or, quote, more involved in the build-up or any other tactical blah, blah, blah that suggests you would be happy with anything less than 40 goals this season. Regardless of how tactically sound it may be, Kings are simply not decoys." I didn't say he's a decoy. I didn't say anything about him being a decoy. Now, that's not the case. Being a more complete striker or more involved in the build-up or any other tactical blah, blah, blah that I have, which I can throw some more at you. Look, he's not going to score 40 goals this season. Nobody had scored 30, and he did it last year. He's not going to score 40. I know that's
Kings
that's
can lead in different ways.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like he doesn't become less of a king if he is a player who this year scores 20 goals and has 10 assists. Like, no, not at all. So he is more involved, and I think the goal scoring is going to get spread out a little bit more, and I think he is going to up his assist total, and then his touches are increasing. He's taking more shots because he's taking some shots from outside the 18. He's going to be more involved, and it's going to be harder for teams to focus in on him. He'll always have that positional gravity that Jarrett talks about a lot, and we saw it on that second goal where he drew, I think, 2 defenders following him. He'll always have that, but if he has that and he uses it to draw defenders away from goal to create opportunities for others to run into, it's a good thing for the team as a whole. So I don't want you to focus in on getting one guy 40 goals. I think that makes you a lesser team. And I think if you have the opportunity and he has the skill set to do more, he can be that Carlos Vela type of player that is more involved all the way around. I think he can do that. I think Joseph has that ability, and his passing, and especially his passing in the final third and into the final third on Saturday night was outstanding.
When you have a team that can have maybe two guys in the 20s, a couple guys in the teens when it comes to scoring goals, wouldn't you rather have that instead of one guy scoring 40?
I'd rather have it spread because if one guy's scoring 40 and he gets injured, you're in big trouble.
Yeah. And for me, I want balance. I want depth. I want different guys stepping up at different times. And I think that this is a roster where you can have that kind of activity and that kind of capability because you have a Joseph, you have Tito, you have Julian, you have PT, you have Barco, you have the guys who can come up from the back and pitch in every once in a while. And so I would rather have teams looking at 4 or 5 guys on a weekly basis sitting there saying, okay, it's the whole, Lakers Showtime thing. It's like, all right, who are we going to stop? Are we going to stop Magic? Okay, well, then that means that Michael Cooper might get 25. It might mean that James Worthy ends up getting 25 and 10. It means that Divac might end up getting, 18 and hit a couple of threes. So, okay, so you're going to stop Worthy. That means Magic might get off and get 35 points and have a triple-double or something like that. So I would rather have Lakers Showtime than sit there and be the New Orleans Jazz and hope that Pistol Pete doesn't get injured.
Pete Maravich, by the way, if you need to look that one up on Twitter.
Oh. and go on YouTube.
Yes,
go on
look
YouTube
that one up on YouTube for sure.
Look up Pete Maravich on YouTube. Amazingly talented player, stuck on some awful teams until he got to the Celtics when it was incredibly late in his career. But one of the most gifted basketball players ever. And you couldn't stop Pete, but the guys around him weren't able to help lift teams to victories. And so that's why the New Orleans Jazz were awful. And that's your antiquated reference from this particular demographic on Overreaction Monday.
There you go. We'll get into more of
the annotated Nelson continues.
Yeah, seriously. There needs to be a Wikipedia about it. We'll get into more of your thoughts, your overreactions, underreactions, on par reactions right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Overreaction Monday. Soccer down here. Four-Card Ahmed has an overreaction, and it's a comical overreaction, but we're going to talk about it. Atlanta United will go unbeaten the rest of the season and win the treble. Victory Monday feelings, hashtag.
Yes.
Good one. It's a good joke. But let's talk about this. What does this win mean, really? Is it a win against a bad team? Is there more to take out of it? Is there more positives to take out of it? What was your reaction now that we're past the win? You got the 3 points. Good. How meaningful is it to you, John?
Well, with your 3 questions, I went sure, and sure. And I think that you needed some good mojo. You needed something to carry you into this homestand that you've got with FC Dallas and Colorado, 2 teams that you should handle. And I think that having the good mojo coming into a homestand, especially with all of the words that had surrounded the club early on, to see Ezequiel Barco do what he did, fans sit there and go, "Ooh, that's what they were looking for," like the guy in New England said.
Yes.
And to just to have some kind of a good vibe and a good feeling for a building that's going to be full, because if you didn't get a result and you're coming home for these 2 games that you once again should, beat these 2 opponents, the vibe's not going to be as good, and the fans are going to be itchy, and the fans are going to be even more restless than they had been. I think that this is a step in the right direction. Take that as, got to win against the team we should have gotten in a place where it's just been weird to do things in the past. So take it for what it is. Take it for full points, and take it for what we saw at a Barco. And you hope that it's one step in a direction. I mean, that's how I look at it. I'm not going to sit there and say, okay, love you, Ahmed, love the optimism.
No, he's kidding.
If it's the first,
Ahmed's completely kidding. So no, you don't have
to
say
that. So, for those that might have been sitting there going, trouble, it's good. Victory
laughing,
feeling Monday.
The laughing, crying,
the laughing emoji at the end of the whole thing.
Yes, it's all a joke.
So take it for what it was. Solid win. Opportunities were there. You got it done. You move on to the next. So just take the good juju that you needed and build on it. That's how I look at it. It's the first building block in putting in a foundation.
See, but I'm going to look at it another way as well. Like, I think a lot of people are basically trying to tell you, like, oh, well, this doesn't mean anything because New England's bad. Nothing. You learn nothing about anything here. That's not true either. You have to win the game that's in front of you, and you did, and you dominated it. You did the job. You made the right changes. You had the right tactical setup. Then you had to adjust to something that you couldn't count for. Then you made a great substitution late in bringing in Franco Escobar as a left back, because that's where New England was starting to hurt you with their changes. You let them blow their changes out of the water. You bring in Escobar, you shut down that, and you see the game out. I thought Frank de Boer did a great job here. I thought the players were up to the task. They didn't make the mistakes that we've seen at times. They just kept pushing forward and kept creating the chances that were there on the day. And that's what you do. I think it's an easy take to just say, well, we didn't learn anything. Nothing's changed. It's New England. You still have to beat the team in front of you. And they did, and they needed that positive momentum with these back-to-back home games, starting with a tougher opponent in Dallas, who's coming in off of a win over Portland. Dallas has been very good, and they play very different than New England. So you're going to have to be as sharp and in the rhythm you were in New England, but you're going to have to be better because you're playing a better opponent. Let's hear what Michael Parkhurst thought about the match. This is after the match on Fox Sports Southeast with Jillian Sakovits.
We're joined by the captain, fantastic
or Kevin Egan.
Michael Parkhurst. You were looking like the
Kevin.
Rookie of the Year out there today. On the right side of defense, that must feel good.
That feels great, really good. The first win for the season, it's been a long time coming. We felt good coming into the game. It's just nice that we were able to piggyback off 2 good weeks of training and put in a good performance tonight.
Hey, Parkey, two goals for the good in Atlanta, but also a clean sheet for the defense. From the booth, it looked like they had a couple chances, but nothing really too significant. Did it feel the same on the field?
Yeah, it did. It felt like we were in control most of the game. We knew that they were going to high pressure us, that it was going to be difficult to play, but we did a good job of getting in behind them. We knew that they were going to play one-on-one. There was a ton of space in behind. We had numerous chances to make it 3-0. We could have coasted at the end, but yeah, the shutout it felt real nice.
In the positioning that you're in at right back there, and the ability to kind of coach Miles Robinson into a new role for him in this back line, what are you telling him in those 90 minutes?
Not too much. Most of the time I'm just trying to catch my breath out there. But, he's doing great. It's just little things here and there positionally, making sure that he's seeing runners off his back, keeping the line where it needs to be. Those little things. The physical part of it, he matches up so well against all these strikers, and he's doing great.
Michael, we had a chance to talk to you yesterday. There's been some frustrating times this season. Give the fans a sense of what the locker room will feel like as you go back inside now.
Yeah, it'll be a good feeling. Guys will be smiling. They'll be happy. We'll be a little relieved. Tired. We put in a good shift tonight.
Kevin Egan, Dan Gargan talking to the captain, Michael Parkhurst. I thought it was funny where he basically was like, I don't have to tell Miles Robinson much of anything. He's doing the job. Miles has been that good. I mean, he's playing, like he's an older player now, and that's what these last 2 years of development have done for him. I think a lot of the stuff that Michael Parkhurst has said to Miles Robinson was happening in training sessions and over these last 2 years, and it's paying off now. And you're able to do these types of things. I mean, early on, it was Miles who was tracking Caicedo all over the field because he was the only number 9 that New England really had. I mean, just to show you where New England is at the moment, their lineup came out, and on the lineup sheet itself, it was listed as a 3-5-2. In Opta, which is on MLSsoccer.com and your stats there, it was a 4-4-2. I thought it was going to play more like a 4-2-3-1, and honestly, it looked like some combination of all of the three, the way it played out, because it was so unorganized. Atlanta handled the chaos, took care of business. We'll talk more about it as we go, but we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the rest of Major League Soccer. There were some interesting results around the league, and some really interesting things that came out of Kansas City last night. We'll talk about that in the next segment. And at 10 o'clock, Jay Riddle from the Unrelegated podcast, I'm sure he's had a few thoughts about what happened in Kansas City last night. And I'm sure he has a few thoughts about Atlanta United's win over the weekend. We'll see what Jay has to say at 10 o'clock. Hang out with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life, young adults of unique determination and experience, an ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Final segment, hour number 1. Soccer Down here, April 15th. Pretty interesting weekend around the league. Let's start in Seattle. This was the big battle between East versus West, two of the top teams in each conference. Toronto goes in missing Drew Moore, missing Auro, and it showed defensively. You gave up 3 goals. You gave up 2 in 3 minutes in the second half, and the Sounders win 3-2. But this was the number from Matt Doyle on Twitter that jumped out to me. Since last July 4th, and that's right before they came to Atlanta last season. Since last July 4th, Seattle are 22-3. 20 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws in regular season play. 63 out of a possible 75 points. Doyle thinks it's the best 25-game stretch in league history. I would tend to agree. There can't be many that are better than that.
Yeah.
Seattle has been that good, and they've had some injuries to deal with during this whole process as well, and they have to be the favorite in the Western Conference right now.
And I know a lot of folks were looking at the shiny object that's LAFC, and right now it's those two. And
I think Seattle's a little more of a complete team right now. I'd give them the edge.
Yeah. Because, for me, when you look at LAFC, there's some stuff in the middle that raises some questions, and there's some stuff at the back that raises questions. I don't think, and you got the opportunity to see some of the young depth that LAFC had late in their match against FC Cincinnati when the match was in hand. And, right now I'm looking at if Seattle is at full song, I give it to them in the West with LAFC at number 2. So, that's how I look at it in an absolutely crazy game that was in Soto over the weekend.
We'll see if it holds up with Seattle, because the questions I had coming in, Seattle's answered them so far. I worried about the loss of Osvaldo Alonso, because he's kind of the heart of that team. They've been okay. Gave up 2 goals here, but it's against the top team. I worry about the age of Chad Marshall, Roman Torres, that back line. Are they going to hold up? And if they don't, are they strong enough to deal with it? So far they have. We'll see how the whole rest of the year goes. But I put them ahead of LAFC in the power rankings. I think they're a little bit better squad overall. LAFC got a win late night over Cincinnati. Pretty comfortable win. Not really a shock there. What else stood out to you from the weekend before we get into Kansas City last night?
Well, can we talk about the debut up at Allianz for a sec?
Yes.
And just how crazy it was to see snowbanks piled up on the edges, and you tip your hat to the crowd, knowing that it's a first game, new barn, cold weather, all that stuff. Great to see that kind of a stadium unveiled. Frankly, I wish it was a little larger, and I know that there are ways that Allianz can be expanded, I think, up to another 5,000 or 6,000, and you put them in the corners and things like that because of how the Wonder Wall is constructed and things like that. So you tip your hat to Minnesota for a great debut, although I know some folks in the suburbs of Atlanta, some folks are laughing at what Sean Johnson went through in one of the goals. Other folks are cringing at what just transpired there.
Yeah, you had 2 bad goalkeeping issues, but Sean's was by far the worst. Just a wild match. We were watching a good bit of it in the press box at Gillette Stadium ahead of Atlanta, New England. And it was just insane, back and forth. Looked great on TV. They really knocked it out of the park with how Allianz Field looks. Don Garber said this to Andy Greeter, the Pioneer Press. He said, "We're riding this wave of momentum that is sort of the next generation of professional soccer in North America. I don't think there's any end to what the sport can be. I wish the stadium wasn't 19,000 and that it was 27,000, because I think at some point we're going to be thinking of how do we make the stadium bigger. I think we are going to be dealing with that in a number of different markets." funny. We've been mentioning this for quite a while. Allianz Field has the ability, this is according to Greeter at the Pioneer Press, to increase capacity by about 6,000 seats. This is according to Minnesota United CEO Chris Wright. It'd be about 1,500 or so possible in each of the four corners. It cost around $40 million. It's a little early, but there is at least that plan that they can go all the way up to that. That would take it to about 25,000. Okay. As long as there's a plan there, I can. Okay, cool. Let's talk about Kansas City, though, because, one, it was a wild game. Red Bulls looked better in some ways and worse in others. It's a 2-2 draw. Kansas City, it's the rare home draw that actually feels pretty good at the end of it. You battled through a tough week with the CONCACAF Champions League match and the disappointment of how you went out in that tournament. You played a lot of the same guys. Peter Vermes is going to roll with his starters as much as possible. But then you had the crazy incident at the end with Kaku. I think it looked like he was just frustrated about not getting a pass from a teammate, and he just lost his mind and kicks the ball into the stands and hits somebody in the front row. I don't know what his thought process was, if there was one at this point. I don't know if he was trying to kick it into the signboard or what. We've seen that happen before. But he kicks it into the front row, hits a fan. Red Bulls players checked on the fan. I believe there was something after the game, making sure the fan was okay. Luis Robles said this, and this is from Sam McDowell, Kansas City's beat writer on Twitter. This is the quote from Luis Robles from McDowell. "I know that he's remorseful about it. I know that he didn't mean to do it. We all checked in with the guy. I guess that's the price you pay when you sit in the front row, right?" No. Look, look, Luis Robles, if they checked in with the guy and the guy was, like, if he's like, whatever, okay, fine. I can get where Robles would maybe have this mindset that it wasn't that big of a deal. It's a giant deal. It is in no way acceptable. The Red Bulls issued a statement. They said, the New York Red Bulls organization does not condone the type of behavior displayed near the end of Sunday night's match in Kansas City. We hold everyone in our organization to a high standard of conduct. The matter will continue to be discussed internally, and we will have no further comment at this time. There has to be a suspension. 100% there has to be a suspension. And you want to know why? Go back to the opening segment of today's show when we're talking about head injuries and concussions. This is where, it is a little personal for me. I had a concussion that took me out of work for 6 weeks. Like, I literally could not work. I couldn't drive. I wear hats because of my sensitivity to bright light, especially fluorescent lights. I wear glasses that get darker because of that. This happened to me 7 years ago. It happened when I was hitting the back of the head with a soccer ball from a further distance than Kaku hit this fan. It's not funny, Luis Robles or anybody else, that the guy was okay, the fan was okay, and that, everything's fine then. No, because you don't know what happens when you do what Kaku did. You don't know where you hit the person. You don't know what their situation is. You don't know the damage that you could inflict when you do this. There is no way, shape, or form that this is just something that should be brushed under the rug. It is a big issue, and it needs to be treated accordingly. You can't have players, even if he had bad aim and missed the signboard because he's mad and kicks it into the stands and hits a fan, can't have that happen. He was red carded, correct. He needs to be suspended for a significant amount of time. And the Red Bulls honestly need to check on what's going on with this guy, because this is not the first weird thing with him since the start of the year. I don't know if he doesn't want to be there or what. I don't know. His Twitter is just a minefield of craziness, but something's not right. He's making your club look like fools right now, and he's putting fans in danger who, no, that's not the price he paid. That's not the price the fan paid for sitting in the front row. It's not. Kaku needs to be suspended for a significant amount of time, and I hope the club does that first before the league has to, because it's 100% unacceptable. Let's take a break. Let's come back. Let's get Jay Riddle's thoughts on it after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus, and Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Hour number 2, Soccer Down Here. We're live on a Monday, April 15th. It's an overreaction Monday. Jay Riddle is prone to overreactions. I think he would tell you the same. And he's with us on an overreaction Monday. What's up, Jay?
I'm a silly man, I admit it.
We are all silly people. We love a silly sport, and it inspires reactions of the very bold variety.
Right? Yeah, I mean, I people might even think it was all a planned setup for my ranting last night before Overreaction Monday. Because I was getting accused of overreacting a lot, which, hey, that may be. I don't know. When you're overreacting, you don't always know that you're overreacting in the moment. but yeah, I mean, Kaku, for some reason, like something in me just kind of triggered a little bit when I saw the replay, because I kind of missed it even when they were replaying on TV. I didn't quite understand what happened, but when someone had zoomed in and you could clearly see him kicking the ball, and it first it almost looked like it either just missed the ball guy, or it hit him and then deflected. I couldn't quite tell, but either way, it hit a fan in the face who was in the front row. And I think Messi did something similar, like back in 2011. I don't know what happened to him when he did it, and I also think the ball might have still or just been in play or close to it when he did it. That doesn't excuse it at all. It was still egregious, and I still think he should have been punished for it. But this was just unacceptable to me. The play was dead, right? This was clearly him kicking the ball in frustration. And so I said that, I think he should get at least a 10-match ban. And then the other part of me, who just, after watching him sort of make a fool of himself in the offseason and throw his team under the bus, or him and his agent, we don't know who tweets from his account, et cetera. And then things like this, I just don't want a guy like this in MLS. I could care. I mean, that's more of just a personal take. I just don't like the guy. I think that, I'd be happy never to see him play in a shirt again. I think with all of that put together, I don't get it. And I know some people have been coming on and saying, in my replies and saying, well, he didn't mean it. He meant to hit the boards. Well, then you have a bigger problem on your hands, because if it's not him kicking the ball directly at the fans and this was an accident, then his lack of his inability to hit the target that close with the boards 4 feet away, you've got bigger issues on your hands, right? So maybe you shouldn't even play him anyways, because he can't even hit a board from 4 feet away. So either way, sure. And I think some people were like, oh, well, you're overreacting by saying you don't want to see him again. Well, that actually has very little to do with this specific action. I'm not saying that he should be banned for life for this, kicking the ball at a fan. I'm saying, I think 10 matches minimum would be a start, but it's just my own personal opinion that, I'm just saying I could care less if he plays again in MLS. That's all. So, take it or leave it.
I would have to dig into what the precedents are here in MLS before I said 10. I kind of thought starting 6 somewhere in that ballpark, whatever the history is, because when you're deciding stuff like that, you do kind of have to either follow some precedent, maybe expand it a little bit, maybe back down from it. You don't want to be completely out of bounds with it. But yeah, significant is where I'm at with it, because you can't put fans' safety at risk, period.
Yeah, and that's where I don't care if he was showing remorse or he tweeted an apology. I could care less. Has he reached out to this? We'll see. Does he reach out to the fan personally? I think that's probably wise. I mean, with the Red Bulls' response, they didn't even address Kaku's name in their apology,
right?
Or addressing the response. It was like a non-apology. And so it just felt like a bunch of lawyers in a room drafting it. So I don't know if they're afraid of liability or a lawsuit from the fan or what the deal is. But, I mean, sure, that's great. They tweeted out a picture of Long and some of the other guys going up and looking and seeing how the fan was doing. But then you have, remarks from other players like Luis Robles saying that, I guess that's the price you pay when you sit in the front row, right?
That was
which is ludicrous and arrogant and just like what are you saying? This guy's supposed to be a leader on their team. It's disgusting. I just don't like the whole thing. There's a cultural issue in my standpoint. If this is like this old well, you just stand up for your teammates nonsense. The guy hit a fan in the face with a ball at close to blank range. I mean, what do you need to happen? What does a teammate have to do for you to not or to blame the fan? And I just don't get it. I don't understand this whole situation. And if people want to throw heat my way or flame me for overreacting, I mean, I didn't hurt anybody with my tweets. So no fans were left bleeding from my tweeting last night.
Hopefully not. Now, Robles' comment, if he had left the last line out, it would have been fine. I mean, I don't expect Luis Robles to come out and say his teammate should be suspended or anything like that.
No.
All that's fine. Don't put in the chuckle line at the end about that's the price you pay. That's no, it's not. It's just absolutely
I don't know what he was thinking.
Not.
He's lost his mind. I mean, this is a guy where I've seen, he's sort of a poster boy for the Red Bulls of this is how to be a player. This is he's
it's an unfortunate statement.
Yeah.
I don't know how far I'd go in that about anything more than that, because it is right after a game. You're not 100% thinking PR perspective there. You're thinking just if you're thinking, period. And it happened and it's crazy. If he had left the last sentence out, I would have been okay.
Well, we'll see if he clarifies. I mean,
I hope he does. I hope he does, because that was a little strange. Let's move on to Atlanta United, New England. What was your viewing like for the match, and what'd you think coming out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I said going into this match on our podcast that my expectations were not very high for this match. I just wanted to see improvement. I wanted to see more chances created. I wanted to see more of that exciting soccer that we're used to watching. And for the most part, I think that's what we got. So I'm content. I think, one thing I'm going to be curious to see going forward is how Barco is used. He seems like he when he comes off the bench, whether it's in the first minutes of the game or near the final minutes of the game, he has an ability to really influence the game. He's just been on fire lately, and that's great. I'm really curious to see how he's used going forward. I mean, I couldn't expect any more of a, hey boss, put me in, start me performance than that, right? So that's going to be interesting to see. And then, maybe PT coming off the bench for a little while is not a bad thing. To help build up his confidence, his get his fitness where it needs to be, all that sort of stuff. The only thing I think there are some questions that we still don't have answered, which will take time, maybe against FC Dallas or Colorado the week after, is how do we perform against teams that are going to play more defensively, that are not going to come out and try to play toe to toe against us. But also, I look back and say, well, we've always struggled against New England, and it was kind of it was chippy. I mean, they were very physical, and it broke things up. And so I don't know if some people said we looked disjointed, and I was like, well, I don't know if that's a result of just the game New England was playing or not. Yeah. But the fact that we came out with a 2-0 result at New England, their turf is not the easiest to play on, and we could have had several more. I think how could you not say that's not a positive?
Yeah, the game was disjointed because that's how New England plays. Like, I don't think there was anything Atlanta really could have done except, and the other approach would have been to say that we will not change a thing. We will play against this team that we know is going to bomb it over the top and press at every opportunity, and not really an organized press, just run guys at the ball. We're just going to play our game, and we're going to try to play with the ball at our feet at all times. I like that you saw some tactical variety. We'll see if the robot army has let John free, because John's phone was going crazy a second ago. We'll see if he can join us here in a minute if he takes it off mute. But I thought the game was disjointed because that's how the opponent played it, and Atlanta found the way to get the result in that, and it worked.
Yeah, we played more direct at times. So early on, I felt like when we were getting pressed, this is something that I've said in the past the season, saying we know the formula. When Red Bulls try to press us, we were successful when we played more direct. I felt like we had more of those direct long balls to Gressel. We weren't afraid to switch the field, launch it over, to the left or the right. It just felt like we were less concerned and less focused on what maybe happens when you change systems and you're trying to remember how your coach wants you to play and certain systems and when not to press and when to pass and when not to pass, and all these things are going on in your head. I felt like this was just us playing our game and kind of leaning on our abilities and our existing soccer knowledge. And the guys, listen, Joseph was missing sitters and he was still laughing and having a good time. If Joseph's enjoying himself out there, that's a huge statement. That right there was enough for me, saying like these guys are out there having fun. We haven't seen that yet this season.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Was I robotic there?
Yep.
All right, Jay, the other topic that we kind of got into this morning was the Eric Remedi concussion and removal that led to Ezequiel Barco being involved and being the integral part of the match that he was. When you look at this issue today, and it wasn't the only time that we had clash of heads or concussive injuries over the weekend, we talked about the emergency injury substitution. We talked about independent review from physicians that don't have anything to do with one team or the other, trying to get the guy back out there so he plays. When it comes to something like concussions and concussive injuries, what is your view on what we're seeing today, and how would you address something like it when it happens out there on the pitch?
I mean, I have to defer to people that have either gone through those things, like Taylor Twellman, or experts, and I kind of take their lead on it, right? And the lead that, or the things that they're saying are those things, that we need to adjust how we deal with these situations. We need to ensure that teams don't feel punished by having to take the player off, and so therefore that influence is not there. I don't think all medical staffs have necessarily, I don't know what. Well, I will say this: I don't know if all the teams are trained the same on concussion protocol. If they, it's concussions, even by brain injury expert standards, are difficult to assess. Right. And if a brain injury expert, because it is a minor brain injury, right? So basically all concussions technically are a minor brain injury, regardless of whether you want to call them a grade 1, 2, 3, or whatever the terminologies are. I don't know. But we have to enable teams to be successful in tackling this issue. And you could put independent, doctors on there all day long. If a team feels that they're going to be at a disadvantage by holding the player off the field, until that is addressed, everything else doesn't matter. So that has to be the first thing in my mind to be addressed, is to make sure that teams feel that they're not losing advantage by keeping the player off and giving them more attention. Because sometimes they may not be able to identify it as a concussion until the next day. I mean, so wouldn't it be better if, for precautionary, that the team felt enabled to just say, you know what, we're going to hold him off for the rest of the game, and we're not punished by having to use a substitution, or we get X amount of time to determine whether he can go back on the field, and then if we make that decision, then we're charged a substitution, whatever it is, but something has to change, because we can't be sending guys on the field who are coming off and then saying they don't remember things.
Right.
That's just not acceptable. Like, how is that acceptable? This at 2019. I mean, I don't know. I'm just tired of it.
Yeah, there has to be a better way. I'm with you. I think one of the complications is just this is not the NFL. It's not any other sport. Substitutions are at a premium in this game, and you don't want to use them unless you have to. In this case, you need to take that decision out of the team's hand, and that for me is where the independent medical personnel come into play. Is they're the ones who approve that opportunity, because then the other team doesn't feel like, oh, well, they're saying that the guy has a head injury so they can bring some fresh legs in, blah, 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 blah. It takes that whole gamesmanship side out of it. It's somebody separate from the game who says you can make a temporary substitution for this player because they need to be checked.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we have to incentivize, right? So otherwise, everything else, you could have an independent doctor on the sideline all day long. Doesn't mean the team's going to necessarily listen to them if either that doctor is not empowered or
you have to empower them. That's it right there.
Yeah,
if you do it, empower them.
Right. Yeah. I just I'll be interesting. I don't know if these decisions are made in CBA discussions, or is this something MLS doesn't need permission and just can enact these types of rules? That'd be an interesting thing to know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's something that, I mean, there's IFAB stuff here where you're talking about the International Federation that oversees the rules. FIFA's involved. I mean, there's things like that. Leagues can pilot things, like we saw MLS be one of the pilots for video assistant referees. This is something that the league needs to pilot and figure out that way to do it. It's time to get out in front of it, and I think MLS is in a position where they can maybe do it better than anybody else in the world because of all of the talk here about concussion awareness. And, yeah, we're seeing it with the National Football League. We're seeing it with college football. That conversation is strong in the United States, and I think if any league in the world is going to have the ability to pilot a program like this, it's Major League Soccer. Take advantage of that. Be out in front of it.
Yeah, I agree.
When you look at the other what other takeaways do you have from the match in New England? Obviously, it could have been 3-4 or 5-0 over a New England side that's just not very good. But I think Jay, it was a team that needed some good vibes coming back for this 2-game homestand. What other takeaways do you have from what you were able to glean from the match up in Foxborough?
Yeah, I think Gressel looked sharper. The cross to Joseph that Joseph was unable to put away. that drove us all crazy. That's the Gressel we're used to seeing. Actually, one thing I'm a little concerned about the refereeing and the fact that there were 2 incidents where Parkhurst and Gressel could have been seriously injured.
We haven't even gotten into that one yet.
I know, but I'll leave that to you guys for your next.
Go ahead.
No.
But that, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, to have that concussion protocol issue take place, Remedi getting a concussion, and then also in the span of one game having 2 situations where there was a leg planted and then another leg coming in full studs up to a leg or a knee, that could have been a major injury on two different players, to get just yellow cards and then VAR to review it and say it's not clear and obvious. I don't understand. What's the point of VAR if we're not going to have people trained in how to identify what's a clear and obvious red card? In my opinion. So that I have concerns about that, because I feel like we're regressing again. Like I felt like for a while VAR, has been doing its job. It's been, pretty consistent and catching things that are missed and stuff like that. But this situation puts that whole thing into question again of like, what are we doing with training, or do we have the right people in there in the booth?
That's the last one. Because it's not the system.
I'm not saying the system. No, I'm not saying the system. I'm saying like us, like MLS. Like, are they facilitating and like we want to go back to empower? We want to go back to empowering. Are we empowering these decisions to be made with the right process or people, whatever?
Here's where I'm at with it, because I think there's a huge difference between the two. So right now, in terms of the concussion stuff, people are not empowered to deal with it. Video assistant referee is there to empower the officials to get calls right, but it only works if the personnel doing it do their job. The system is there, especially the one on Gressel. I thought it was immediately bad. Like, I immediately reacted to it and was just like, oh my gosh, like nothing here. What in the world? It's just a yellow. Okay. That one's bad. That's a judgment call. I think the judgment was wrong. Fine. The one on Parkhurst by Caldwell is the one that is so custom made for video assistant referee to get involved in, because it was behind the play. Chilowitz, the referee, probably isn't going to see that clearly because the ball is moving along and he has to follow where the ball's going. Got it. All that's good. It's why you have a video assistant referee. It was discussed. It was a situation, and I don't know if the TV broadcast picked it up, but play was held up. Chilowitz had his finger to his ear. He's talking to the video assistant referee about the incident with Caldwell, studs up high to Parkhurst. And he did nothing about it. He didn't show a yellow. He didn't come back to do anything about it. That's the one I have the bigger issue with. You have bad judgment, fine. But video assistant referee is there to correct things like Caldwell going in late and studs up on the knee. And there's nothing. That's a problem. And it's down to the personnel. And I think a lot of people think that Major League Soccer hires the referees. They don't. It's a professional referee organization. It's U.S. Soccer that trains referees and hires referees and is involved in the oversight. MLS doesn't run the referee side of things because the same referees work USL, they work NWSL. I've said it for a long time. I think the Federation doesn't do a good enough job of developing referees, and I don't think they do enough of a job in these situations of this should be a learning opportunity for every referee in the pool. You know, there were things missed badly here that affected player safety. Like, that can't be okay.
Yeah, I was disappointing. I was disappointed in the refereeing overall, and disappointed in the concussion protocol. But hopefully, there's lessons learned from it and gleaned from it. And I mean, I'm just glad Parkey's healthy because he's been great as a ninja attacking midfielder / second forward in this new system. So
you call him a NAM instead of a CDM or a CAM. Call him a NAM.
That's probably I'm not good at deciphering tactics, and when I'm watching a game, but what I can do is understand the big difference, and it feels like a big difference in how our center backs play, how our defenders play in DeBoer's system. It feels like they're much more involved when things open up and spaces open up. They're really bombing forward, right? So I don't know if this is new or it's just because Parkey's in a new position. We're not used to seeing him, and as we're seeing Parkey do this, or what? You tell me. I don't know.
It's well, I think Saturday was different because he was really a right back, not a center back in the situation.
Right.
Although he was a right back.
He traded places
stay at home a lot.
Feels like he wasn't always on the right. Sometimes Miles was on the right. Sometimes LGP was over there.
It's fluid. And when you look at the top teams around the world, you look at where the game's going, it's not rigid like it used to be. It's very fluid. Players are expected to fulfill multiple roles and be able to adjust when things break down or when you try to take advantage of opportunities presented to you going the other way and you have to transition. Players can't just play one position anymore. And Parkey's kind of a player who, honestly, I think as a center back, he's been ahead of his time in that regard because he didn't fit into the mold of center backs when he was coming up and should have gotten more opportunities with the U.S. national team. He didn't get them because he wasn't the prototypical 6'3" big guy who's going to win everything in the air. He was a soccer player, and he fit Tata Martino, to a T, and he fits what Frank DeBoer wants to do as well. He's just a top-notch soccer player who can defend, but also can play going forward.
Yeah, it's been really impressive to watch him. I know a lot of people are talking about other players, Barco, Nagby, things like that.
But Breck Shea.
Breck to me, when he's put in the right position to succeed, I don't worry about him. I really don't. I mean, if he's in a system where he can go forward and feel confident that, if he feels he's going to get burned tracking back, he feels like he's got some additional help behind him, where he's not sort of left alone hanging. I think he can be very good at his job. And there were actually a lot of times where I felt he should have been switched to probably more often, more frequently, where nobody noticed him or whatever it was. But he had a lot of opportunities where he was sitting wide open space on the left. And I feel like if it was Gressel, the ball would have been sent to him immediately. But, maybe they're still getting used to each other. And it's going to be interesting to see if Breck remains the starter, if this has helped cement that place. We've seen what he can do against Herediano, so now he's just got to show that level of consistency. And I have all the faith in the world in him.
So tons of stuff to talk about this week. I'm sure you'll have plenty to do over at Unrelegated and Atlanta United Fan TV. What's coming up? What's on your agenda?
Yeah, so we got Queens of the South recording tomorrow, so that'll go out on YouTube. It'll be the first time that will be on YouTube. We did our first Unrelegated OG podcast on YouTube on the Atlanta United Fan TV YouTube channel last week. And then I think we have you have an event, Soccer Over There. Nick Alifi has an event coming up with Soccer on the Streets. And
next Monday, correct.
Next Monday, Jessica will be there. I'm going to probably drop by as well. So that should be a lot of fun. We have obviously a big game coming up. We're not doing anything special in particular. You could always, come and find us at the tailgate. We'll always be there. I will not be there for the game, unfortunately. I am picking up a new puppy, new dog for the family. So, yeah,
cool.
So we will be
approved.
Well, we will find out.
oh boy.
But it'll be fine. We have some strategies going on. We think he'll be okay.
There's some strategies.
That's right. So I will be missing this game because I think it's unfortunate because it can be an exciting game. It's FC Dallas is a young side. Their new coach who came up from their academy system.
Yes.
Has been doing a phenomenal job, and so it'll be very interesting to see how he sets up. If he's going to do the traditional, let's bunker against Atlanta United and work on the counterattack, or play more toe to toe with us. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. We'd all like to see more exciting soccer, like in New England, maybe just less potential red card injuries.
Yeah,
but it's going to be good. I think Atlanta United. They're going to come out to play. I think they do not want to get booed again in front by the fans. They're ready. I think this time together has been really helping. You can see it. The chances are there. Now we just need to start converting on those. I don't know what you call them in a statistical stand, but those high XG opportunities, right? Where the ball's right in front of you. Let's try to get those in next
detailed.
time.
I like it.
Wow. Yeah. So I'm learning. I'm trying to learn from Kyoto football. I'm still terrible at that stuff, but that's why we have him and the analytic analysis involved guys. So right.
Yeah, we try. We all try. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it. Thanks for the hot takes as well. Good luck with the puppo. Hopefully everything goes well with Casper.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. You have a good one.
And you too. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Overreaction Monday, April 15th. Soccer Down here. Jason Longshore, John Nelson with you this morning. Nathan Pugh with a string of reactions, over, under, on par. I think all are accounted for here. What did Nathan have to say, John?
Topic number one. Mike Conti, 929, going all out on anti-tornado CBS coverage.
Oh, my goodness. It's fine if you want to have your little spicy take about, like, I don't want my event interrupted, and I'm watching the Masters and I don't want to hear about tornadoes that don't affect me. Yeah, all that's fine. It's stupid, but it's fine because it's kind of a big deal. But when it goes to like actually sending death threats to weather personnel from CBS 46, stop and get your account revoked and don't talk to people because you're a threat to humanity.
Because this is, that's just how it is in this part of the country. And CBS affiliates in the southeastern United States were in no-win situations, no matter what they did. If they went and they did a squeeze-back TV term where you have both pictures in the screen.
That's what they did.
Yeah, I know. They did it at some points, and then when Tiger was hitting a shot, they would dump out, and props to CBS 46 local for trying to balance it out as best they could. I don't know what it was like in Macon and in other cities in the Southeast, but CBS 46 locally in Atlanta was in a no-win situation no matter what they did. If they went all Masters, folks want to know about what's going on in their community with the weather. If they go all weather, then the golf fans who aren't affected by what's not going on in their town are going to sit there and kvetch. So, props to them for balancing it out as best they could.
Look, when you're sending death threats to Ella Dorsey for telling you that a tornado is touched down in your area, really reevaluate yourself, please.
Yeah. Stop. Question or point number 2 from Nathan. Barco or Salah goal, world class?
I'm a little biased. It was a world-class goal, though. Absolutely. Ezequiel Barco's goal, world-class. Mo Salah's goal, yeah. Nathan's a little biased, too.
Yes.
A little bit.
I'm going to hold point 3 because that'll go into our next topic.
Rearrange it. So that's point
4. Okay, so point 3 is now going to be point 5.
Yes.
Point 4, Tiger.
Ridiculous. I mean, it was it's one of the sports events that I will never forget watching. We took off out of Boston at just after 9 o'clock, and luckily it was a flight that had in-flight TV, and I watched the CBS coverage until we landed, and then when I was leaving the airport, I turned on the Westwood One coverage on 92.9 The Game and listened to that, and then got home in time for, I want to say Tiger was on the 12th or the 13th. So I got home to see the final run-in. He had just kind of taken control at that point. So I'm not a hardcore golfer by any stretch. I actually haven't played in a few years, which is something I need to rectify very soon.
Yes.
I've missed it. I've had moments where I've been hardcore and obsessed about it because it's that kind of game. I think that's why it affected so many people is, I think most people have picked up a club at one point, went to a driving range, went to Topgolf, whatever, and people know that it's very difficult to do what these guys do on a regular basis. It's incredibly difficult to do what he did, coming back from, not just the emotional turmoil, the personal turmoil, bad mistakes that he made with his personal life and affected people, but the physical things that he overcame.
3 back surgeries.
I mean, like Nota Begay talking about how, he goes to see him and he can't get up out of his chair, like he can't drive, he can't, go pick up his kids. I mean, just stuff like that. To be able to go from that to doing what he did last year. I mean, it's not like this completely came out of nowhere, but being able to handle the pressure and go from, what I was trying to think of, because I was kind of the right age to watch all of this with Tiger, and not be that far off from him in age. And to see when he first came up, he was dominant physically and he was a very good golfer. To now where people didn't think he would be good enough if he didn't have the physical gifts. Because, he never had to be. But now, I mean, the stuff he did yesterday, like, he's just an unbelievable golfer, and he can overcome the physical issues. And it was just a very cool moment if you've watched his career, if you've, watched the game, if you know anything about it. It was a very cool moment. And, I was absolutely tears in the eyes watching it. It was very cool.
All you have to do when it comes to his knowledge of the course, think about his tee shot on 12, where 5 of 6 guys hit it in the water, an amen corner. He hits it just over the bunker, 2-putt par, you move on. Go to 13, once again, using course knowledge, tee shot to the right-hand side of the fairway, takes the long iron, hits it to the right side of the green, gets there in 2-putt birdie, you move on. 16. Using the slope that everybody or most everybody uses to work their way down to the hole to set up a very easy tap-in, which almost was a hole-in-one like Justin Thomas had earlier in the round. So it's course knowledge that got him through. Everybody else is sitting there trying to use their strength and their guile and their guts to get through. Slow and steady won the race. Point 4, winter is here. Now, Nathan, you can at me all you want.
No, I'm there too. I got nothing on this.
I've never seen an episode, and I really didn't get involved in it. I'm not involved in it now, even though Nicholas Coster-Waldau, one of the stars, is a Leeds United fan and dropped a Bielsa reference in his interview on Kimmel. Still not a fan of Game of Thrones. Haven't seen one single episode.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Point 5. Point 5, which was initially his point 3, which gets us into the other topic. And I'll do it as Jerry Seinfeld. Seriously, what's the big deal about Heath's goal?
Tobin Heath slander is not appreciated around here, Nathan Pugh.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a great goal. I think I didn't really appreciate it until I watched it a couple of times. And, it's a low cross, a little bit behind her. She kind of reaches back and back heels it in, and she just makes it look so simple. Tobin Heath, in my opinion, is one of the most skilled soccer players I have ever seen. Flat out. I don't care. You're talking male, female, whatever. Just flat out soccer skills, flat out technical ability. Tobin Heath is as good as anybody. And I really hope that this is her year to take the stage, because she has been there for a while now, and I don't think she's talked about enough as one of the top players in the world. Going into a World Cup, this is Tobin Heath's time to shine, and I hope she gets that opportunity. And she is getting that opportunity with the Portland Thorns. They won their opener in Orlando 2-0. Could have been a lot worse. It was a pretty dominant performance from Portland. Although, if you've not seen Alex Morgan's Twitter this morning, Alex had some thoughts, and I think she was correct, about an incident where Megan Klingenberg just abused Morgan and kind of pie-faced her down to the ground. No call, no foul, no card, no nothing. It was shocking. But Portland dominated the match. They deserved their win. Houston and Reign FC drew 1-1 yesterday in Houston. North Carolina Courage held to a 1-1 draw in their home opener against Chicago Red Stars, and the Washington Spirit 2-0 over Sky Blue FC in your NWSL weekend openers around the league.
If you haven't seen the Red Stars Twitter account that has the release video of their new kit,
I think
it
it's
is
their secondary
strong
kit, and it's awesome. It's one of the best kits in American soccer.
Yeah, their new kit. When I have the coin, I might be investing in a Red Stars alternate kit. So CM Punk has a lot to be proud of, and it is tremendous in their presentation. Go to their Twitter account and look at the presentation. Very well done by them.
Yeah, it was excellent. Really nicely done there. And that's a big result for them on the road in North Carolina. We talked about it on Friday on the Women's Soccer Weekly podcast with Jonathan Tannenwald of the Philadelphia Inquirer. North Carolina is your unmitigated favorite in the NWSL. Portland is right there as the biggest team in the league. They'll be there at the end. Who's going to be there with them is up for some debate. Chicago's one of the teams that could be. Houston's one of the teams that could be. Washington maybe. Utah definitely could be. It's going to be a fun season in the NWSL, and you're going to get to see a lot of players because of the World Cup, because of players missing time with their national teams. You're going to get to see a lot of players in the spotlight that wouldn't have had that opportunity. We'll see who takes advantage of it. I'm excited. I watched the games on Yahoo yesterday and watched some of both, and pretty good. I know some people had some issues with streaming with Yahoo on Saturday night. I didn't have any. Worked well. Production was good. I was happy with it. I hope it gets better. I hope it continues. I'd love if they could figure out something for some over-the-air TV, but Yahoo did a good job.
And you've also got a midweek match. If my math is correct, it's Wednesday night, North Carolina and Orlando.
Correct. North Carolina hosting that on Wednesday night, 7 o'clock out of Cary.
So, if you didn't get a chance to see it with all of the soccer that was going on in the opening weekend, you get the midweek match here with the Courage and Orlando to kind of give you a peek at early season stuff going on in the NWSL before the weekend picks it back up.
Yeah, big one there. Let's take a break here. We'll get into some USL Championship stuff. We'll talk about the twos, and we'll take more of your Overreaction Monday tweets at Soccer Down here. Hang out with us. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. It wasn't just an Atlanta United win on Saturday night. Atlanta United 2-1 as well. 2-1 over North Carolina FC. John and Jarrett were on the call. How'd everything go at Fifth Third Bank?
The action at the Fraction was pretty good. And
really, we're
it was. I just popped into my head. I have no idea. I mean, well, I mean, hey, it's a Monday. Things just pop out. You know, you could call it the ATM, you could call it the bank, but then you're getting into the whole things like, okay, I know the folks at LAFC might get mad, but figured, maybe the action at the Fraction. Who knows? But it was pretty solid. And for Jackson Conway, who got man of the match, he, had the first opportunity to make it 2-1, but had a bit of a paw in the air that kind of directed it into the net. It was seen by everybody. Then the pressure defensively, and Jarrett made this point on the air, the same kind of pressure that caused the equalizer in the North Carolina Courage's previous match. It happened to him again, where you had Luis Fernando involved. You had, I think it was Kisidu involved, and the pressure created a turnover deep in their end just outside the area. It goes to Jackson. Jackson puts it in with the left, and it was 2-1, and that was how it finished. And for the second match in a row, like they did in Memphis against Memphis 901, you close out a match, and it was a little longer this time because Conway's goal was in the 67th, and so you had 25 minutes where you had to do well defensively to close things out. And then you look at what Will Vint did in dropping back and seeing how his game is evolving. And you saw Wesley Dacus, who for me is turning into a beast at the back. And so when you have folks like Lawrence Wyke, who's developing, Dacus, who's developing, George Campbell, who is that back there, Gallagher, who was back there, it's fun to see the development that recent SDH Twitter follower Stephen Glass is putting out there on the pitch. So 2-1, big win, and good on him, especially for the third match in a week.
Yeah, it's a big win against a top opponent. You go on the road, and you're outplayed in Memphis. That's fine. Memphis is a veteran team, and you get the goal, a little against the run of play, and you see the game out. That's what you have to do sometimes. Come back home, and you win 2-1 against a top team, and it looked like it was a pretty even match against a team in North Carolina that should be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. And I think it's a really strong performance. I thought the opening goal, Andrew Carlton with a nice pass for Gordon Wild finishes, and then Jackson Conway, after a lot of hard work in Memphis where he wasn't seeing the ball very much, he had to do a lot of physical work, nearly get into fights with Mark Birch. He handles it, and he takes that home and comes back and gets a goal. It's a good week for Jackson Conway. You've got 3 center backs with this group right now, in Campbell, in Dekas, and in Wyke, who are all playing really well, and Stephen Glass can rotate and play 2 of the 3. It's impressive. It's very, very impressive at the moment. It's a big night for the club as a whole to be able to go up to Foxborough, get a nice win. Twos are at home. They get a nice win. Everything's pretty good at the moment for the team in 5 stripes. Let's look at the standings real quick in USL. You have Atlanta United 2 in a good spot in the Eastern Conference. St. Louis lost over the weekend, which was a surprise. They lost to Birmingham. Very surprising result there. Tampa Bay unable to capitalize. They give up a late goal to Louisville City, so they draw. So St. Louis is still on top on 13 points. Tampa Bay is 1 point behind on 12. Then you've got Nashville on a 2-game winning streak with 10. They beat Memphis 2-0. You've got the Red Bulls 2 on a 2-game winning streak. They beat Charlotte Independence 2-1 on the road. They're on 10 points. They've only played 4 matches, though. Bethlehem Steel on a 2-game winning streak. They beat the Battery 3-1. And Atlanta United 2 on a 2-game winning streak. 3-2-1 this season on 10 points. The Eastern Conference table is very, very crowded because you go 4 points back to Birmingham, who's on a 2-game winning streak, in 13th place. Top 10 make the playoffs in the USL Championship. It's going to be fun watching this team continue to evolve this season. Stephen Glass doing a great job so far. Let's take our final break, come back, and finish up with all of the reactions on the Twitters right after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Final segment, Soccer Down here, Overreaction Monday. Let's get to the reactions on the Twitters that we have not gotten to as of yet. What are people saying, John?
Shiva, the most entertaining match for me was Minnesota NYC. 2 goalkeeper mistakes back and forth. Then what happened towards the end with the 2 players collision? NYC player knocked out for a couple of seconds. And yes, Shiva, he was unconscious.
Yeah, I thought he was watching it. I'm just always reluctant to say that unless there's official confirmation. But it looked bad. That was a wild game. Great atmosphere, great crowd in Minnesota, great day for soccer in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Loved all the coverage out of The Athletic, Jeff Reuter, Pioneer Press, talking about the history of soccer in Minnesota and the lead up to this. Very cool to see a great fan base get this opportunity. I mean, I remember the old Minnesota Thunder back in the day in the A-League.
Kicks.
So yeah, that's before my time.
Al
The Kicks.
Willie and the Kicks.
Yeah, I got nothing on that one. I remember the Thunder. I remember when they came into the North American Soccer League, and it looked like they were playing their last game in the championship series, and Dr. Bill McGuire saved the club, bought it, and took them from that to Major League Soccer pretty quickly. It's been an impressive run for Minnesota, and on the field, all that's great. Man, you had a 3-2 lead, and you blew it. That's not good.
This is right, loser horn.
Yeah, I think I think Minnesota's a playoff team in MLS, but those are the types of results you just can't have. You can't drop those 2 points there.
Michael Valverde, friend of the show. Frank DeBoer prepared the team, at FDE Boer Official, prepared the team and game plan beautifully. But for finishing, this was a 5-0 drubbing. Atlanta United shredded the defense. Hashtag overreaction, Andy.
Yeah, it definitely could have been more. You left some on the table. It's easy to not be too worried about that when you do score twice and you only concede one shot on goal. I thought he got it right. I thought the fact that you know how New England's going to play, and there's always this balance where people say that, no, we're a good team. We shouldn't have to change based off the opposition. We're going to make them play our game, or we always are tweaking based off what that match is going to give us. I kind of lean to the latter. You can play your game and not lose your identity, but still make adjustments based off what you expect to happen in this match. You knew New England, no matter what shape they're in, was just going to throw numbers forward and press and chase and play direct. You knew that. Playing against a team that plays direct, you have to have extra bodies back. Playing 2 holding midfielders instead of 1, that is doing that. And then you adjusted with the injury to Remedi. Nagbe changed his role a little bit. It worked. You still got forward. Barco came in. Yeah, he wanted to start. Barco wants to play 90 minutes every game. Every professional player should. He came in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He performed. That's great. That's what you want. I don't think you're going to see a team that plays 11 players starting in the same shape week in and week out. I do not think that's the case. I think you're going to see a team that adjusts, that evolves, and plays against different opponents in different ways. I think that's the way to go. I think that's where you should be wanting to go, because even a Manchester City with Pep Guardiola makes adjustments, makes changes. The top teams in the world, your Barcelonas, your Liverpools, your Bayern Munichs, they make adjustments because that's just smart management. So I thought he got it right. I thought the sub bringing on Escobar to play on the left, because New England had started to find some excitement over there with Buchanan checking into the match, and they were trying to overload that side of the field. Bringing on Escobar really brought a little bit of a spark when you did. I thought that was the coaching decision of the night from DeBoer. I thought he got it right.
Speaking of identity, Jane Ames, a win is a win is a win. No reason for takes that it's a bad Revs club. Next, people will say Dallas were too young or the Rapids were high. The team looked like they had an identity again and executed it. On to the next. Hashtag overreaction Monday.
Wow, we are not making any suggestions about the Colorado Rapids. Don't get it twisted.
And we're playing Dallas on 420, not Colorado.
That would just be funny. I mean, Colorado's got to be at home on 420, right?
You would hope so.
I mean, you have to chuckle at that one. No, they're not. They're in Chicago. I mean, come on, schedule makers. You have to have that inside joke. Anyway, you can always find a negative reason why a team wins a match. Period.
Bobo's in a freaking golf cart.
He is. Hopefully not anymore.
Not anymore.
It's this weird thing. If you want to look for a negative in a match, yeah, you can find it. You can find negatives, and, Liverpool winning yesterday over Chelsea wasn't really that big of a deal. Well, the team that won the Champions League final, wasn't that big of a deal. Stop. Is it a blip? No, we don't know yet. If they come back home and they play poorly against Dallas, get outplayed, which I don't think they've been outplayed this season outside of the first leg in Monterey where they were the better team. Monterey was the better team, and I thought you played them straight up for the most part, but you were outplayed in that match because you lost to a better team. You shouldn't have lost 3-0. We've discussed that ad nauseum. Outside of that, I don't think Atlanta United's been outplayed. If that starts against Dallas, you're going to have questions, and we're going to have discussions, and we should. They did the job that was in front of them in the 90 minutes in New England. They did it in a very strong way. They did it in a very eye-catching way, and everybody should be happy with that performance. Now they have to build on it, and you come play a Dallas team that is young, that can be a good thing, that can be a bad thing, and we'll see if Paxton Pomykal and Jesus Ferreira and Michael Barrios can be the dangerous players that we've seen this season for Dallas. Can they do that at Mercedes-Benz Stadium? Hopefully Atlanta has a little more momentum coming into this one than they've had this season.
Shiva says, Parkey making runs up the field in the attacking third, Joseph dropping deep in defense and being involved in the build-up, Barco scoring golazos makes it actually more exciting to watch the team this year. Can you imagine if Parkey scores one?
Yeah, he's the one who he doesn't have one yet. So he's the guy. Would love to see him get one. Yeah, if he gets one at home, the roof might open up just on its own. It's craziness. Going back to DeBoer real quick, and since you added him, didn't add him, you read the adding of him. He did on Instagram over the weekend tweet a picture of the team, I think celebrating the second goal, maybe the first one, and said, really proud of the effort our team showed last night to get the 3 points. And the effort was a big thing in the New England one because that's all New England talks about is effort. And that's what they pride themselves on, and you showed more effort, and you got the job done. And in a way that you don't really want to play that way. You want more of the ball. You want to be able to dictate the match. It's hard to do against a team that is just built to disrupt. You dealt with it. You got the 3 points in a nice way. It's good. It's good. And I like the variety that you're seeing. Parkhurst taking space, getting forward. Cool. Joseph dropping in deeper, building up plays, springing players with strong passing. Good. I like a complete performance, and I thought you got a lot of that on Saturday.
Katie Weaver said the Tobin goal was so smooth. Tobin Heath and Clint Dempsey, most sauce in U.S. soccer history, ? Two of my faves for sure.
Yes. I don't know if there should be a question mark there. I think that's a correct statement. Tobin Heath and Clint Dempsey have the most sauce of any player to play for the U.S. national team, men or women, period.
So would they be sauce AF?
They would bring yes. I'm trying to think of a more clever way to put that, but that'll work. Take it.
Okay. Just thought I would ask. And last one on the board is Amy Anna Marie. She goes, so safe to say we won't be seeing Johnson with any more USMNT keeper call-ups? ?
Not with a guy who wants his goalkeeper to play with the ball at his feet. And that's just one of those you just can't do. You just can't do it. And Sean Johnson's a guy who has played well with the ball at his feet in New York City. That's what's so crazy about it. That was always the complaint, was that he's not good enough with the ball at his feet. That's why he left Chicago. I'm sure Veljko Paunovic felt a little vindicated in this because he went to New York and was very involved and fine. And, this is a guy who was a forward in high school. He played goalkeeper for his club team, but in high school at Brookwood, he played up top. He scored a whole bunch of goals. He's got skills with his feet. It happens. It happens to great players around the world. But, man, it just feeds the narrative, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I hate to see it for a guy like Sean who works very hard and is a very good goalkeeper. Very, very good. Just other guys who are a little bit better, that's all.
We are officially caught up, sir, having gone into stoppage time.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it. We'll leave some stuff on the table for tomorrow. We're back at 9 o'clock tomorrow. We'll have a Twos review later today, and we'll kind of treat the 6-point week as a whole. We'll talk a little about Memphis, a lot about North Carolina, and get you up to speed on Atlanta United too. We've got USL Championship in 10 coming up later this week. We've got USL League 1 in 10. We've got our first NWSL in 10. We've got a Women's Soccer Weekly coming up later this week. We've got a Charleston Battery Report. All the stuff on the SDH network. Thanks to everybody who's downloaded the app. If you haven't, it's in your app store on Android or iOS. You can also listen soccerdownhere.net and on Spreaker. Thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks for all the interaction this morning. And we'll be back tomorrow. Mucha plata, y'all.
And on YouTube, hashtag JFT96. Mucha plata, y'all.